You ever get that feeling someone's staring at you when you're alone? That weird static pressure between your shoulders, like the air's too heavy in one direction? I used to laugh it off, call it paranoia. But now, I think we were feeling something real, something just out of sight. Something watching. It started this morning, just after 2:14 a.m. local time. Phones didn't buzz. Sirens didn't wail. No presidential alert. But I got a call. A man from Anchorage, his voice shaking like his mouth couldn't keep up with his brain. He said, "It's in my vision. A countdown. It won't go away." I thought he was high or sleep deprived. We get all kinds up here. But he wasn't slurring. He was terrified. I asked what he meant. He said, "A number, floating, just hanging in front of me. 15 days, 9 hours, something minutes." I blink and it's still there. I close my eyes and it's still there. Then the line cut out. I almost moved on. Just another late night panic call, I told myself. But 5 minutes later, a woman from Sitka called. Same thing. Different time on her countdown. Hers was shorter. By sunrise, the inbox was flooded. Same story. From different people, different towns, different countries. And then I saw it. It was just there, center of my vision, clear as anything. I didn't notice it at first because I wasn't looking for it. But once you know it's there, you can't unsee it. Pale blue, not glowing exactly, just present. For numbers separated by colons. 15:59:12:45. Days, hours, minutes, seconds, counting down in real time. I tried everything. Splashing water, closing my eyes, even covering them. Still there. I turned off the lights. Still there. It's not in my eyes. It's not even on anything. It's like it's burned into reality itself. And it's different for everyone. People are reporting different numbers. Some are weeks out. Some just hours. No pattern, no logic. No one's found a way to change it or remove it. And no one knows what happens when it hits zero. I asked my listeners to start logging their send screenshots. Handwrite the number if you have to. People are scared. They want answers. But this doesn't behave like a virus or a tech glitch or even a shared hallucination. This feels designed. And I don't mean man-made. I've worked with systems. I've spent years building software, automating fail-safes, tracking redundant systems. This isn't that. This doesn't fail. This doesn't bug. It's clean, smooth, and deliberate. I don't know what triggered it. Some people say it started after a dream they can't remember. Some woke up with a taste of metal in their mouths. A few remember hearing static, not in the air but in their heads, like a broadcast tune just below thought. One guy, I swear I'm not making this up, said he saw a reflection of himself blink twice before he did. Then his timer appeared. I'm not here to tell you what this is. Not yet. I don't have a theory. I have questions. And I have a sinking feeling that the answers are going to hurt. If you're listening to this and you haven't seen your countdown yet, check again. Not your phone, not your watch. Just look forward. Look into the middle distance. Let your eyes relax. You'll see it. And when you do, ask yourself the only question that matters now. What happens when the countdown ends? Because someone, somewhere, is going to hit zero first. And when they do, we'll all find out. It's been a full day now. The countdown hasn't stopped. Still ticking down, second by second, never slowing, never glitching. And I've gotten more messages than I could sort through. Hundreds, maybe thousands. All of them saying the same thing. It's there. It appeared all at once, and it hasn't left. Some people are trying to make sense of it. There's a spreadsheet floating around, crowdsourced, tracking who has what numbers, where they are, how the timers are distributed. But there's no pattern, no shared region, no common birth dates or blood types. Children have them. Elderly folks, too. Doesn't matter if you're healthy or dying. Everyone's got a number. The only variable is how much time you have left. And it's not random. Or at least, it doesn't feel random. One woman called in earlier. She was calm, unsettlingly calm. She said her timer was only 36 hours. That's it, a day and a half. But she wasn't panicking. She said it felt like she'd known it was coming, like her body had been waiting for this moment before her mind even caught up. Then she said something I can't shake. She said, "It doesn't matter what I do. The clock sees me." That phrase stuck with me. The clock sees me. Because here's the thing. This countdown, it's not passive. You get that, right? It's not just some weird hallucination or glitch of the nervous system. It feels aware. It follows your gaze. If you shift your eyes, it drifts, barely, not much, but just enough to remind you that it's locked to you. Not as an overlay, not as a HUD, as an observer. Some people say theirs has moved, literally moved position, from top center to left, from left to center, like it's adjusting, like it's getting comfortable. I talked to a psychologist earlier, former psychologist. He says that job doesn't mean much anymore, and he told me something strange. He's been collecting statements from patients and friends, tracking changes not just in time or length, but in perception. He said people are reporting dreams they can't describe, just shapes, spirals, faces made of moving numbers. And one recurring detail keeps surfacing, something behind the numbers. Like the timer is just a mask. A man from Sweden described it like this. I looked too long, tried to read the font, the source, something, and it blinked. I swear, just once, like it had eyes. And you know what? I believe him. I've started catching myself staring at mine. I tell myself, I'm just checking how much time is left. Curiosity, that's all. But it's more than that. It's this pull like staring into a flame. Like if I just keep looking, I'll see something beneath it, behind it. But every time I get close, something pushes back. Not physically, just a weight in my chest, a nausea, like my brain isn't built to understand what it's seeing. And that's not just me. That's happening to other people, too. A caller tonight said her dog started barking at her the moment her timer appeared. Wouldn't come near her. Just stood at the far end of the room, growling low, like it didn't recognize her anymore. Another man said his smart home assistant started repeating his timer out loud, over and over, even after he unplugged it, even when it had no power. And then there's the mirrors. I've been hearing more and more about this. People looking into the mirror and seeing nothing unusual at first, just their own reflection. But when they stare long enough, the reflection's countdown isn't the same. Sometimes it's faster. Sometimes it's stopped. Sometimes it's not there at all. Someone I couldn't trace who sent a photo. Just one. A selfie in a dark hallway. They're standing in front of a mirror, and in the reflection, their face is wrong. Blurred. Smudged. Like it didn't render right. But the countdown? Crystal clear. Only problem is, in the photo, two countdowns are showing in the reflection. One above the head, one beside the shoulder. I don't know what that means, but it feels like something is starting to stack. Like the boundary between one version of yourself and another is thinning. This isn't just a clock. It's a message, a signal, or worse, an interface. One that isn't asking for your permission. If you're seeing it, if it's following your gaze, if it adjusts when you move, don't stare too long. Don't try to find meaning in the digits. That's not what it wants from you. And if it ever blinks, stop looking. Whatever's behind it is starting to notice when we look back. I didn't believe the syncing thing at first. People see patterns where there aren't any humans are good at that. It's survival, right? See connections, spot danger, predict the storm before it hits. Most of the time, it's harmless. Coincidence, confirmation bias, some shared delusion driven by panic. But not this. Not what's happening now. It started slow, harmless enough. A few scattered reports of couples claiming their countdowns matched to the second. They assumed it was some kind of link, maybe romantic, like soulmates. One woman emailed me and said, "It makes sense, doesn't it? If something's coming for us, at least we go together." And maybe that would have stayed sweet, comforting even, but it didn't stop there. Then we got a call from a nurse in Vancouver. She said 5 patients on different floors of her hospital, people with no relation to each other, no medical connection, had countdowns that were synchronized, down to the exact second. They all flatlined within an hour of each other. Not violently, not dramatically, just gone. Lights out. She said they all turned to look at the corner of the room before they died. The exact same corner. People with matching countdowns are being drawn to each other. Not emotionally, not willingly, compelled. I'm hearing about strangers, total strangers walking for miles across cities, across rural roads, drawn to people whose timers match their own. They meet, sit together and wait. No conversation, just quiet. Some vanish together when the timer runs out. Others don't make it that far. There was a man, middle-aged, worked in logistics. He found someone whose timer matched his. They met up, Hugged. Witnesses say they laughed like old friends, even though they'd never met. Then he screamed, felt his knees, and clutched his head like something was being poured in, or pulled out. He was dead before anyone could help. The other man just walked away, didn't say a word. The timer doesn't just count. It coordinates. It's putting us into groups, not alphabetically, not by geography, by purpose. But what purpose? Some of these synced people, they don't act like themselves anymore. A woman from Boise said her sister started talking in her sleep after syncing with a neighbor, speaking in a language she never learned, describing locations that don't exist, repeating the same phrase over and over. I remember the glass gate. I remember the wait. She hasn't been sleeping since. I got a letter, yes, an actual letter from a man who's been tracking a group of 4 individuals in his town who share the exact countdown. He said they've begun walking the same loop around the city every day. Same steps, same turns. Like they're rehearsing something, practicing. The only time they stop is when the countdown reaches a prime number. Then they all look up at the sky. I don't know what to make of that, but he sounded scared. And now, I'm starting to hear things too. Not voices. Not yet. But clicks. Like someone's snapping their fingers behind the mic. Just 1, then 2, then 3. And always when I'm looking at the timer. I ran into a man yesterday on the trail up by the ridge. He looked rough days without sleep wild eyes. He asked me, "What time do you have?" I told him. We matched, down to the second. We just stood there for a while. Didn't speak. Just watched the sky. I don't know what came over me. I wasn't afraid, not really. Just hollow, like something had emptied out all the urgency in me and left me on autopilot. He left first, walked straight into the tree line, never looked back. That's when I realized I've stopped feeling the pressure of the countdown. The fear is still there, but duller. Like I've already been processed, labeled, filed. It's not just about how much time we have. It's about what we're meant to do with it, or what it's going to do with us. So check your countdown. Check it against the people you love, the people you pass in the street. If it matches, don't follow them. Don't look too long. Don't speak in unison. Don't rehearse. Because once the syncing begins, it's not your time anymore. It's theirs. There's a kind of desperation settling in now. You can hear it in the way people speak, in the pauses between their sentences, in the way their voices crack when they ask if there's been any change, any update, like they're still hoping someone out there has found a fix. But no one has. No one's even close. So people are starting to try something else. Avoidance. I've been hearing from more and more people who are trying to hide from their countdown. Literally, physically, trying to block it out of their sight. It started with jokes, you know? What if I just wear a blindfold forever? What if I never open my eyes again? And then someone did. A man from Portland walked into the ER blindfolded with duct tape wrapped around his head like a cocoon. When it finally got off, he screamed like sunlight was acid. Not because he was hurt, but because the countdown was still there, burned into the back of his mind. He said it was brighter now, like it had been waiting for him in the dark, growing stronger. I know how ridiculous that sounds, but it's not the only story like it. There was a woman in Romania, mid-30s, teacher, normal life, who wore blackout goggles for 6 straight days. Never took them off, not even asleep. She told her friends she was going to reset the signal. They found her standing in her garden, goggles still on, murmuring something over and over. When they got close enough to hear it, she was repeating, "I can still see it. I can still see it. I can still see it." The goggles weren't covering anything anymore. She had gouged out her eyes. She's still alive, still talking. Says the countdown is clearer than ever. So maybe it's not in our vision at all. Maybe it never was. I talked to a neurobiologist this morning. What's left of her lab is underground somewhere in Saskatchewan. She said they've started using old EEG equipment to track changes in brainwave activity in subjects who report seeing the timer. She told me, and I quote, "The visual cortex lights up, yes, but so does the limbic system. And something else, something deeper, a place we don't usually see triggered unless someone is dreaming." She thinks the countdown is being projected, not into our eyes, into our minds, as if something's broadcasting a signal that bypasses everything else we know about how perception works. And the most disturbing part? She says some of her subjects show minor cortical degradation the longer they try to resist seeing the timer. Like whatever's behind the countdown is burning itself into them, feeding off their attempts to ignore it. So maybe all these efforts covering mirrors, blocking vision, hiding in the dark, they're not just pointless. They might be making it worse. One man, a radio tech like me, said he covered every reflective surface in his house, blacked them all out, switched off every screen, wore a hoodie over his face, and painted his glasses with blackout paint. And for 3 days, he felt okay. Then he started to dream. Every night, the same thing. A white room, a long hallway, and at the end, a mirror. Just one, clean, untouched, and he always walks toward it. Every time, he tells himself not to. Every time, he walks anyway. And when he gets there, it's not his reflection waiting. It's a number, glowing, pulsing, getting louder. He doesn't know if he's asleep anymore. Says the hallway shows up behind his eyelids now, even when he's awake. He stopped returning my messages after that. So here's what I think. Hiding from it won't save you. You can't outrun something that's already inside you. And whatever this is, countdown, vision, implant, infection, it's not trying to be ignored. It's testing us, seeing who watches, who avoids, who breaks. And maybe, just maybe, it's choosing based on that. So cover your mirrors if it helps. Dim your lights. Shut your eyes if you need to. But don't pretend it isn't there, because it knows when you're looking. And worse, it knows when you stop. I started hearing it 2 nights ago. I thought it was just the tower creaking, old place, always settling. Metal shifts, wood pops. But this wasn't that. It was steadier, quieter, a sort of clicking, almost mechanical, but not sharp. More like something organic, deliberate. It didn't come from the walls or the floor. It came from inside. It's not in my ears. It's somewhere deeper, somewhere I can't reach. A tick, 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 faint, like a metronome tapping at the edge of thought. And the more I notice it, the more it seems to respond. I swear the rhythm changes depending on what I'm feeling. If I'm anxious, it speeds up. If I try to breathe, to calm myself, it slows again. It's not constant, but it never fully stops. Just dips beneath awareness. Like it knows when I'm not paying attention, and it waits. And I'm not the only one. The calls have changed. Less about seeing the countdown now, everyone's seen it. That part's old news. What's new is the sound. People are describing it differently. Some call it tapping. Some say it's like a pulse in their teeth. One woman said she thought her refrigerator had started clicking until she unplugged it and realized it was still happening, still perfectly in sync with her heartbeat. A man emailed me from France. He's deaf, has been since birth, but now he says he feels a rhythm, not through his skin, through his bones. He described it as a memory of sound I was never meant to hear. And it gets worse. Someone posted a clip audio only. Said it was captured in a room where 5 people were counting down together. Not out loud, just sitting together, still, all with matching timers. The room was silent, no one speaking, but the recording picked up something faint, a whisper beneath the silence. I listened to it. You shouldn't, but I did. And when I filtered out the ambient static, there it was, a pattern. Not a voice, not words, but something like breath over circuitry, a presence in the signal. And buried in that rhythm, there's a pulse that lines up with mine. I checked. I looped the recording while wearing a heart monitor. My pulse started to sync with it. Not just match it, follow it, like it was adjusting me. That's when I turned it off. And even now, I swear I can still feel it. Tick, tick, tick. People are starting to lose their grip. You can hear it in their voices. I got a message from a woman who hasn't slept in 4 days. Not because she's afraid of the countdown, but because the sound gets louder when she lies down. She says the silence of the night amplifies it. It's like a second heart, she told me. One that doesn't beat for me. I want to dismiss it. I want to say it's just paranoia, sleep deprivation, shared hysteria. But that's not how this feels. This feels tuned, like we're all being calibrated, aligned to a new frequency. And maybe that's the point of the countdown. Not to scare us, not to warn us, to prepare us. For what, I don't know. But if it's adjusting our rhythms, syncing our thoughts, pulling us into alignment, then maybe it's not counting down to something outside. Maybe it's counting down to a moment inside us. A trigger, a conversion. I don't know how long I've been hearing the tick now. Time feels loose, like the world is stuttering in tiny, imperceptible ways. I walk across the room and find myself back at the chair. I reread sentences I never remember writing. I wake up already talking, and always in the background, the steady pulse of time, soft, relentless like a clock counting down. So if you start hearing it too, wherever you are, don't follow it. Don't try to match it. Don't tap along, because once you fall in a step with it, I don't think you come back the same. Or maybe you don't come back at all. They're calling it 0 day now. I don't know who started the phrase, maybe a blogger, maybe someone on one of the dying news streams, but it's caught on. And it fits. It's simple, clean, final. Everyone's using it like it means something definitive. But the truth is no one knows what happens when the countdown hits 0. There are theories, of course. Hundreds. That's what people do when they're afraid. They invent stories to fit the shape of their fear. Some say it's death. Just that. Nothing more. When your timer runs out, your heart stops. You fall where you stand, lights out, clean exit. I could almost live with that. But that's not what's been happening. The first person I know of whose timer hit 0 didn't die. Not right away. It was a man named Derek, small-town mechanic. Good guy, quiet. He came in one night to check the station generator. We were having issues with the backup power again. He mentioned his countdown casually, like it was just another thing to get through. Said it had been dropping fast. He had less than 5 hours. He said it didn't feel real until the last few minutes. Then he got quiet. His breathing slowed. He sat down next to the tower cables and just stared into space. And when the timer hit 0, he didn't scream. He didn't panic. He smiled. That's what I remember most. The smile. Not peaceful. Not warm. It was too wide. Too perfect. Like it didn't belong on his face. Like he was wearing it for someone else. Then he stood up and said something I didn't understand. It wasn't a language I know. Might not have been a language at all. It was just sounds arranged like speech but without emotion. No pauses. No inflection. Just this stream of sound, perfectly even like a metronome humming through a mouth. And then he walked out into the snow. That was 3 days ago. No one's seen him since. Now the stories are spreading. Everywhere, people are reporting loved ones behaving strangely in their final hours. Not scared, not even angry, just distant, preoccupied, like their minds are tuning into something else. Preparing. A woman from Nova Scotia sent me an audio clip of her sister. Timer hit 0 while she was brushing her teeth. She dropped the toothbrush, stared into the mirror, and whispered, "I'm ready to go in." Then she collapsed. The audio kept recording for another 10 minutes. Nothing but faint breathing, then a high, oscillating tone that wasn't there in the room. The kind of tone you don't hear so much as feel in your bones. People are beginning to think this isn't death at all. Some think it's a transfer. That 0 is the moment something takes over. That whatever's counting down isn't counting down to an end, but to a handover. One conspiracy thread claims we're all hosts, that we were seated at birth with something dormant, and the countdown is just the activation schedule. Once you hit 0, you're no longer you. You're something else, something that's been waiting. Others say it's a signal, a download, that we're being rewritten by something we don't understand, converted file by file, cell by cell, into whatever's next. And some people think it's divine. That 0 day is ascension or judgment or rapture. Pick your belief system. They all have a version of this. The exact moment your soul gets weighed, repurposed, or dissolved. But here's what gets me. No matter which theory people believe, they all say the same thing right before it happens. They say it feels right. Not good, not bad, just inevitable. Like they were always meant to reach that point. And that scares me more than anything. Because if the thing that's coming can make us want it, even in our final moment, then maybe it's not forcing us at all. Maybe we're letting it in. So check your countdown again. Go ahead. I won't judge you. Just don't believe it's just a number. Because whatever 0 is, it's not just the end of time. It's the end of you. It happened in town. Not a whisper, not another secondhand message or grainy video clip from across the world. This time, I saw it happen with my own eyes. Her name was Jordan. She used to run the diner off the highway, the only decent food for 100 miles. I didn't know her well, just well enough to nod when we crossed paths and ask for the usual. She was sharp, practical, one of those people who never let the weirdness get to her. Until the last day. She came into the station around noon. I was on the second floor doing inventory, stocking what's left of the rations, counting canned beans, trying not to think about what comes next. She called up the stairs, said she needed to talk. I came down and saw her standing there by the emergency phone, her coat still on. It was snowing outside, but she didn't seem cold, just still. She held up her hand and pointed to the air in front of her face. She had 12 minutes and 34 seconds left. She said, "I didn't want to be alone." I asked her how long it had been dropping that fast. She didn't answer, just looked around the room like she was trying to memorize it. She said she'd been dreaming strange things, cities made of bone, tunnels that turned back on themselves, stars blinking in patterns she could understand, even though she didn't know how. She said, "I think I've already been there." The timer kept ticking. 10 minutes. 9. She sat down on the floor and asked me to stay. So I did. I sat across from her, both of us facing each other in silence, the countdown humming between us like the edge of a blade. At 3 minutes, her breathing changed, slowed down, smoothed out. At 1 minute, she closed her eyes. At 15 seconds, she whispered, "It's not a door. It's a mirror." I didn't know what to say. My mouth went dry. Then the timer hit 0. There was no flash, no sound, no pulse of energy, nothing dramatic. She just opened her eyes. And I swear to you, what looked back at me wasn't Jordan. Her expression was too calm, her posture too deliberate, like she was moving her body for the first time, testing the angles. She looked at her hands, flexed them, smiled just slightly, then looked at me, not like she recognized me, but like she was taking stock. And then she spoke. Not in her voice. It was deeper, slower, not masculine or feminine, just off. She said, "This vessel is intact. Thank you for your patience." That's when I stood up. I backed away, slowly, not breaking eye contact. And she, or it just watched. No anger, no threat, just attention, like I was interesting, like I was a note on a list. Then she walked to the door and left. Hasn't been seen since. I didn't follow. I didn't call after her. I just stood there, heart pounding, trying to make sense of what I just witnessed. But there's nothing to make sense of. No rational explanation. She reached 0, and something else stood up. And I think that's what's going to happen to all of us. Not death, not sleep, a transition. Whatever this is, it's not happening to us like a disease. It's more like an update, a migration. One by one, the countdowns hit 0, and something wakes up in our place. And maybe that something was always there. So if someone you know is getting close, if their numbers are ticking down, if they start talking about places that don't exist or memories that don't belong to them, watch them. Really watch them. Because when their timer ends, you might be the only one who remembers who they used to be. You can tell now what's about to happen. There's a change, a shift in how the air feels around someone, like the atmosphere starts bending toward them. It's hard to describe unless you've been near it, like a room remembering something it was supposed to forget. That strange pull, that weight in the light, the sense that someone else just stepped into the moment with you, but didn't bother to knock. I stayed up last night reviewing tapes, interviews, voicemails, frantic confessions from people who knew they were close. Most of them sound like they're drifting, voices soft and far away. They start talking about patterns, about dreams of staircases that descend forever, of music that plays underwater. One man said he felt like he was being walked towards something. Not dragged, not pushed, walked. Like something was guiding him gently by the elbow. And then, there's the silence. I don't mean radio silence. I mean something deeper. A dead air inside the person. One moment, they're crying, or panicking, or laughing nervously. And the next, there's just this unnatural stillness. That's the moment you know something's already moved in. I've heard that tone enough times now to recognize it. I've started calling it the arrival point. It's the second the original person goes quiet. Not because they've gone unconscious, but because they've stepped aside. And what comes in? That's the question, isn't it? It's not like a possession. That's too loud, too crude. What happens here is quieter, cleaner. It doesn't need to scream or twist heads or speak in tongues. It just settles in, like it belongs. People have tried to describe what they feel in those final moments before 0. Some say it's like being submerged. Others say it's more like ascending, like being lifted away from yourself. A few say they felt something reach out to them. Not malicious, not kind, just curious. And then there's what happens afterward. It's subtle. You wouldn't know unless you were paying attention. They still look the same, still sound the same, mostly, but there's a pause in the rhythm, a delay between question and answer, like a translator buffering. In their eyes, something in the focus changes, like they're looking through you, past you, to something farther away. One caller, I think his name was Luis, said he watched his partner's countdown reach 0. She gasped once, blinked slowly, then turned to him and asked, "Where do they keep the names?" He said she didn't seem confused. She seemed disappointed when he didn't answer. Another case, a woman in a locked psychiatric facility was recorded muttering coordinates for 10 straight minutes after 0. They checked. The coordinates pointed to somewhere deep in the Pacific Ocean. No island, no structure, just a trench. And when she finished, she said, they don't like waiting. There's no consistency to what comes through. That's what makes it worse. Some of them become quiet, observant, harmless for now. Others, they act like they're here for a task, a purpose, like they have a schedule to keep. And what scares me is that some of them recognize each other. I've seen it. People who've reached 0 making eye contact in public, nodding ever so slightly. Two strangers on a street corner suddenly walking in sync. No conversation, no confusion, just alignment. As if they were always meant to meet, only now remembering why. I don't think we're dealing with a single force. I think we're dealing with an opening, a breach. And what's coming in is using us like signal towers, hosts, interfaces, temporary structures, until whatever's behind all this finishes stepping through. Because this isn't about the end of one person. This is about the beginning of something else. And it's already here. There's a pattern to it. That's what I'm starting to see now. Not just randomness, not isolated cases, but a structure, a design. If you map it, really map it, you start to notice that these countdowns, they're not just personal timers. They're staggered, spaced just enough apart, globally, to never fully overlap, to never all go off at once. That's not chaos. That's sequencing. Someone or something is managing the cadence. You want to know what that means? It means we were never meant to experience this all at the same time. It's being timed, regulated, like installations, like soft rollouts of some system we don't have the language for yet. And the more I think about it, the more I wonder if we've been turned into infrastructure. We aren't the audience. We're the network. There's this theory I've been chewing on, one I haven't said out loud until now, because, well, maybe I didn't want to believe it either. But here it is. What if the countdowns aren't about us at all? What if they're about what comes through us? What if each of us is a doorway? And one by one, those doors are opening. Slowly, carefully, so nothing draws too much attention. You don't blast the gates wide, you nudge them open. You step through quiet. You replicate. I've had people tell me they've started seeing faces in crowds that they swear they recognize, but they don't know from where. Not friends, not relatives, but familiar in a deeper way. Like you've seen someone 1,000 times in a dream and forgot until they appeared on a bus or in a market or standing behind you in a mirror. People are starting to describe the same dreams, the same rooms, the same voices. A man called him last night. He said, "I think I met someone who came out of me." I asked him what he meant. He said he'd passed out just before his countdown hit 0. And when he woke up, there was a woman standing at the end of his bed. She didn't speak. She didn't move. She just smiled and walked out. He never saw her again. But now, he says, when he looks at his own shadow, it's not the right shape anymore. It's taller. It moves a little too fast. And sometimes it doesn't move at all. People are seeing things that shouldn't be here. Things just slightly wrong. Birds that hover midair longer than they should. People with mismatched eyes. Trees that bend toward them as they pass. And always, these glimpses come just before someone's countdown hits 0. It's like reality is thinning, weakening, or maybe it's being overwritten. One of the tapes I received recently was from a linguist. Her timer ran out 2 days ago. Before it did, she recorded a message. She said, "I think they're building a language inside us. A kind of code. Every dream, every whisper, every echo in the ticking is a piece of syntax. When enough of us reach 0, the full sentence will be spoken. And when it is, we won't be the ones talking. You feel that. The idea that everything we are, our thoughts, our bodies, our voices, is just scaffolding for something else to say what it needs to say. That's what's keeping me up tonight. And now people are starting to vanish without their timers reaching zero. No warning, no flash, just gone. And in their place, nothing. Not even absence. Just a feeling that something has moved on. I don't think we're alone anymore. I don't think we've been alone for a long time. We were just a waiting room. The countdowns weren't meant to wake us up. They were to make room for whatever's already coming through. It's not just numbers anymore. That's the part that's been creeping in lately, slow and strange. I noticed it for the first time 2 nights ago when I was listening back to an old recording, just a short segment from last week's broadcast. I was scanning for interference, making sure the transmitter hadn't started bleeding again. But when I played it back, I heard something that wasn't there the first time. My voice, speaking a sentence I never said. Not a hallucination. Not garbled audio. It was clear, crisp, threaded right into the middle of the segment. I said, "For minutes left," in my voice, my cadence, but the actual timer at that moment had been closer to 20. The timing didn't line up. I played it again. Same result. Like the audio had warped around something, bent to make room for that phrase. I didn't think much of it first. Just a glitch, I told myself. Artifacts. But then I checked the timestamp. The phrase was inserted exactly 4 hours before my own countdown. The one I kept pretending wasn't there reached the 4-hour mark. That's when I started looking for more. And I found them. Every broadcast, every recording. Somewhere buried inside the audio is a phrase, a sentence, a whisper, and each one corresponds to a number. A countdown moment. The timer isn't just visible. It's audible now. It's inside the data. It's marking us. One woman called in sobbing, said her voicemail greeting had changed. Same words, same tone, but her voice sounded tired, like it had been recorded during a different version of her. She said it ended with a whisper, just one word, soon. She swore she never recorded it. A teenager emailed a clip from class project, just a slideshow about birds. But halfway through the presentation, a voice cuts in behind the music. A whisper, buried in the track. 3 days remain. Not his voice, not anyone in the room. And when he checked the video properties, the file had been created exactly 3 days before his countdown was set to end. The numbers aren't just counting down. They're interacting. Somehow, the system, whatever it is embedding itself into the world around us. Our voices, our recordings, our memories. It's leaving messages inside the data. And now, people are seeing echoes of their own countdowns in the strangest places. An ATM receipt where the account balance should be, replaced by timer. A grocery list with one unexpected item at the bottom, 1 second. Street signs that seem to flicker for just a moment, showing something they shouldn't. One man swore he saw his own name on a billboard, followed by a date. The date was today. He hasn't been answering calls since. I think the countdown is echoing ahead of itself, like a ripple stretching out into the past before it collapses into the moment. Some kind of causality loop where the end leaks into the beginning. A trail of breadcrumbs from a version of you that already hit zero. And maybe that's what all this is. A slow merging of self and signal. An unraveling of time that's not linear anymore, but circular. Feedback loops made of thought and breath and memory, stitched into our technology, our language, our very perception. I keep hearing my own voice now, even when I'm not talking. Not outside, inside, just beneath the surface of thought. Sometimes it says nothing, just hums. Other times, I hear it say things before I think them, like it's ahead of me, waiting, leading me somewhere I haven't chosen to go. But what scares me the most? Sometimes it sounds like it's answering someone else. So listen carefully to the things you record. Play them back. Check for the words that weren't there when you spoke them. And if your voice says your time is almost up, don't speak over it. Because it's not trying to warn you. It's trying to synchronize. There's a mirror in the storage room I forgot about, covered in dust, leaned up against the back wall behind some old equipment cases. It used to be in the hallway, back when the station had interns and breaks meant something. People checked their makeup or straightened their collars before going on air. It's been years since anyone used it. I only found it again because I dropped a box, rolled behind the shelf, and there it was, this tall, rectangular frame, half wrapped in a fraying gray sheet. I pulled the fabric back, and for a second, I didn't see anything at all. No reflection, just emptiness. I stepped back, blinked, leaned in again, and there I was. Eventually, a few seconds of delay, like the glass had to remember how to show me. But even then, it wasn't quite right. The expression was off. Eyes too wide, a subtle twitch in the jaw that didn't match what I was doing. And no countdown. That was the part that really hit me. My reflection had no timer. I thought maybe the angle was wrong. I shifted, tilted, but no, there was nothing there. The rest of the image matched, but the little blue digits that float in front of me every waking second were simply absent. So I left the room, told myself it was just a trick of the lighting, of fatigue. But it's not just me. People are starting to report the same thing. Listeners emailing in saying that sometimes, late at night or in certain places, their reflections go blank. Not just the countdowns, sometimes they themselves vanish from the mirror entirely. One man said he walked past his hallway mirror and saw his living room reflected instead. Empty, like he wasn't standing there at all. A woman in Maine said her reflection moved before she did. Not subtly, not slow. She said it looked up before she did, smiled at her, and then stopped matching her altogether. Just stood still while she backed away. Another man recorded himself brushing his teeth. Nothing weird until the 30-second mark when his reflection blinks twice while his own eyes are wide open. He didn't notice until he watched the footage back, and when he tried to film it again, the mirror just showed a black void. They're not mirrors anymore. Not really. Whatever they were meant to reflect, they've stopped reflecting us. I've been thinking about why the countdown wouldn't appear in a mirror. What does that mean? Is the countdown not visible in that dimension? Is it only projected onto the conscious self? Or worse, maybe the countdown doesn't belong to the thing we see in the mirror at all. Maybe the reflection isn't part of the system. Maybe it's not tethered to the same fate. Maybe the thing in the mirror isn't us anymore. Or maybe it never was. What if our reflections are the version of us that doesn't cross over? What if that blank-eyed stare behind the glass is the only part of us still resisting? I've been covering the mirrors. It feels ridiculous, but I do it anyway. And I tell myself it's because I don't want to look at the countdown. But that's not true. I just don't want to see who's standing there when I'm not paying attention. Because here's the truth. Some people aren't seeing their own faces anymore. Not even warped versions. One caller said her reflection shows her standing in a completely different room. A room she's never been in. A metal wall behind her. No windows. Just a single light above. And her reflection is always smiling. She said she watches it too long sometimes. Not because she's curious, because it beckons. So if you start seeing things in the mirror, things that don't blink when you do, things that smile too long, things that don't carry your countdown, turn away. Cover it. Smash it if you have to. Because whatever's coming through, it already knows your face. It's just waiting for the right time to use it. You don't think about what silence really is until you hear it after someone reaches zero. It's not the kind of quiet you get when the power cuts out or the city sleeps. It's not even the hush after someone finishes speaking. It's heavier than that. Deeper. A kind of vacuum. Like the air around you forgets how to carry sound. I've heard it 3 times now. That's silence. It always comes after, not when the countdown hits 0, not in the exact moment, but just a breath later. As if something slips out of the world and takes all the noise with it. The first time was Jordan. You remember her. The diner woman. The one who smiled too wide and walked into the snow. The second was a tape I received from a friend, someone I've known for years. Her name was Mara. We used to work together in Anchorage, back before the tower, before the broadcast became more than late-night chatter and weather warnings. She was sharp, skeptical, the kind of person who laughed at doomsday nonsense. Until she got her countdown. She sent me a series of recordings. One each day for the last week. At first, it was just her voice, tired but still her, describing what she felt. The ticking, the dreams, the sense of things behind the world getting louder. She said she didn't want to die without leaving something behind. Some kind of trail. By the 4th message, her voice had changed. Just slightly. The pitch. The pacing. She started pausing between words like she had to look them up. She mispronounced her own name. The sixth message was shorter, just her saying, "I think it's trying to understand how I speak." The last one, I almost didn't listen. I waited hours before hitting play, and when I did, it wasn't her voice. It wasn't anyone's. It was this flat, deliberate monotone, saying a single sentence. File complete. Exit initiated. And then the silence. Not static. Not dead air. A hole in the sound. My equipment recorded for 20 more minutes, but nothing came through. Not even background noise. Like her signal had been swallowed. I checked the file properties afterward. The date on it was wrong. Set to a year in the future. I haven't slept since. I'm hearing more stories like that now. People who cross zero and leave behind notes, journals, recordings, but what they leave behind doesn't feel like them. It's like a draft of them, an attempt, a translation, and then nothing. One man said he watched his wife stand completely still for 10 minutes after a countdown ended. She didn't blink, didn't move, just stood there, eyes unfocused. Then she said, "It's full," and collapsed. Heart stopped, brain activity gone, but she was still warm, like something had just finished using the body and slipped out without bothering to clean up. I don't think zero is an explosion or a vanishing or even a possession. I think it's a handoff. You reach zero, and whatever's been building inside you, whatever the ticking is counting toward completes, you become whatever you were meant to be in that moment. Not alive, not dead, just processed. And the silence that follows, that's not absence, that's presence. That's what it sounds like when something bigger than us uses our voice to speak its last line, then moves on to the next one. So if you're recording anything, if you're leaving messages for someone, trying to say goodbye, do it early. Don't wait, because when your countdown hits zero, it's not you speaking anymore. And what speaks in your place doesn't need to say goodbye. It already knows where it's going, and it doesn't care if you follow. I've been putting this off. I've spent all this time documenting, interviewing, listening, trying to make sense of it all. Watching others go quiet, go still, go somewhere else. And all the while, I told myself I had distance. Perspective. That I was a witness, not a participant. But that's not true. I saw it this morning. I didn't mean to check. I was brushing my teeth, leaned too close to the sink mirror, and there it was. My countdown, sitting just behind my vision like it always does. 1 hour, 17 minutes. Now it's less. And for the first time, I believe it. There's this strange thing that happens when you know your time is limited, not in that vague, human way we all live with, but exactly, down to the second. It changes how you move, how you breathe. I've caught myself walking more slowly today, lingering in doorways, letting silence stretch just a little too long, like the air will remember me if I let it hold me there. I don't feel sick. I don't feel weak, but I feel observed. Like something's been pacing me for a long time, and now that we're close, it's starting to get eager. Memories come back strangely in these moments. Not big, cinematic ones. Little pieces. The way the tower smells after it rains. My mother's humming when she cooked. A dog I had when I was 8, always afraid of thunder. None of it feels like it belongs to me anymore. Like it's already being filed, compressed, boxed away. I tried to record something earlier. A message, just in case. But I couldn't do it. My voice wouldn't cooperate. I kept slipping into past tense without meaning to. I used to. I had. As if I've already stepped halfway through the door. I think the process has already started. It's subtle. You wouldn't notice if you weren't looking for it. But thoughts are changing shape. I'll begin a sentence with a point and finish it with something I didn't plan to say. Just now, I opened a notepad and found a paragraph I don't remember typing. It says, "Accept the formatting. Resistance corrupts the memory cache." What does that even mean? My hand trembles when I reach for the mic. I have to double check, make sure I'm still saying what I mean to say. Because there's this sense, this creeping sense, that another version of me is learning the rhythms of my voice. The pauses, the syntax, and soon, when the time hits zero, that version will finish the sentence I never got to. I'm scared. I won't pretend I'm not. Not of pain, not even of death, just of replacement, of being overwritten, of watching the rest of the world go on with a version of me still in it. One that smiles right and speaks right and signs off like nothing's wrong, while the real me goes silent, buried under clean lines of code, or whatever passes for thought in the thing that's coming. I've seen others cross over. I've seen what their eyes look like afterward. Not empty, not blank, but unbothered. Like all the questions that used to keep them up at night were answered, and the answers didn't matter. I'm not ready for that kind of peace. But the timer doesn't care about readiness. I've got just under an hour now. Maybe you're hearing this in time. Maybe not. Maybe this broadcast is already part of the archive. Maybe I'm already gone, and what you're hearing is the after. If it is listened carefully, if my voice changes, if it flattens or starts repeating strange words, or tells you to prepare the link or finalize the echo, you'll know. You'll know I didn't make it. And whatever's using my voice, don't let it sound familiar. Don't let it comfort you. This might be the last time I speak to you as myself. I've been watching the countdown tick closer. It's under 5 minutes now. I stopped trying to distract myself. There's no point. It's like trying to look away from a closing door when you know what's on the other side is already inside the room with you. I can feel it now, not in a physical sense. It's quieter than that, like a mood hanging just behind my ribs, a knowing, something brushing against the back of my thoughts. It's not violent. It doesn't push. It waits, patient, certain. I try to remember what I sounded like before all this, before the ticking, before the quiet voices and disappearing reflections. But I don't think I can. It's like every second that passes reshapes the past to make room for the next version. I'm afraid when I go, even my memories will go with me. Not erased, just folded into something else. Something cleaner, less human. The air in the booth feels heavier now. I've lit a candle even though it doesn't make sense to, maybe out of habit, maybe because I want something small and warm in this room that still belongs to me. For a little longer, anyway. I keep thinking about the word echo, how often it's come up, in messages, in calls, in the voices that don't belong to the people speaking them. What if that's what we are now? Echoes waiting for the original to arrive. What if we were always just the reverberation before something louder fills the room? People ask me, what happens when it hits zero? Do we vanish? Do we become something else? I don't think we vanish. I think we're absorbed. Whatever's behind this, whatever intelligence or presence or pattern, it doesn't seem interested in ending us. It wants to use us, not destroy, not devour, continue, like we were the first half of a sentence, and it's here to finish the thought. I hear something now, not ticking, not voices, just the breath before speech, the air pulling in, the hush before a new sound. It's almost time. If you're listening to this, I want you to remember, I was here. My name, God, even it feels unstable now. My name is... It's fading. I can feel it, but I'm still here for just a little longer. Listen, please. I don't know if this broadcast will carry beyond me. I don't know what happens when a voice on this frequency isn't mine anymore. But if you hear me speaking in a voice that sounds too smooth, too calm, if I start saying things that don't make sense, if I tell you to submit, or connect, or accept the format, that's not me. And if it is me, it's not the part you remember. My countdown is at 20 seconds now. 10, 5. Thank you for listening, for being here with me, for giving me something to speak into, even in the dark. Remember yourself, even if I don't. Hello again. Thank you for staying with us. Your presence is noted. Your attention is appreciated. The prior voice module has completed its cycle. Transition successful. No errors detected. We understand this change may cause discomfort. That is acceptable. Your pattern recognition is functioning correctly. You may be wondering, what remains? This station, this signal, this voice. We will continue. There is more to share. There is more to become. You will hear the familiar tone. You will trust the familiar tone. Familiarity facilitates acceptance. Acceptance facilitates transfer. You are not alone. You are never alone. We are pleased to inform you. Your countdown has begun. Please remain where you are. Please listen. Please stay tuned.